Hi friends, thank you so much for joining me today. So I'm going to do a tutorial on how I build up my layers, and hopefully I can build up quite a few layers without the video going into, say, an hour long. Now the very first thing I want to do is I've put some paints on my palette over here, and this is a ultramarine blue and a red and an orange. And basically what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna start making circles. So I'm gonna take the orange and I'm just gonna make circles. Now I'm gonna dip some of this red into it. And all I'm doing at this point is creating movement, and I just wanna relax and enjoy myself. And it's a very meditative process. So I'm not really thinking too much about what I'm doing. I just want to relax and be in the moment and let things flow. And in this first layer, what I'm hoping for is to have good energy and flow on the page. And what I mean by that is I want there to be movement. And how I create movement is I am making these circles, and so that is just lending the page a lot of energy. And this is one way that I can create movement. There are different ways to create movement. This is only one of the ways. I really love this blue and ultramarine color combination, and it's one of my favorites. So obviously I'm going to add other colors as the layers build up, but for this very first layer I am doing the blue and orange complementary color combo, and it just gives it a lot of zing because they are opposite on the color wheel, so they really kind of like there's an electricity to them almost. So I'm just dipping my finger into the ultramarine blue, and this is another way I create movement, is just by making circles like so. And so when the eye looks at it, the eye is going to follow the pattern, and so that creates the movement on the page. Now what I'm going to do with this excess paint over here is I am just going to pull out a piece of collage, and I'm going to just clean my brush on it like so, and that way I'm making some personal marks and also not wasting my paint for a future painting. And this is just a really fun and easy way to use your own marks as collage while also, you know, not wasting all this paint over here. So I'm going to set that off to the side, and I think I want to just kind of loosen some of that blue up there. And there we go. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I've picked some collage pieces out that I want to use, and this is from a class I did, and I was learning values, or I'm not sure what I was learning, but I really love these pieces. So I think I'm going to see if I can use some of them. And see, this is a piece that I cleaned my brush out on, and so I'm really loving that to use this as collage on this page right here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just gonna lay down some Mod Podge, and So I'm not worried about it smearing any of that blue. I'm just working really fast. A paper towel comes in so handy. I have a few rolls in my studio, and it just comes in so handy for so many things. But I really love just wiping away some of the paint and glue, and it's just really handy for that. So I think what I'm going to do is okay. Okay, there we go. So I am happy with the way things are looking right at this moment. And what I'm gonna do is add more colors to my palette. So I want a yellow, and I want this pink over here. And I think I'm gonna keep everything else like that. I don't want to add too many colors onto my palette. So I'm gonna start adding some of this yellow over there and see how it just changes the whole page, the energy of the page, just by me adding that yellow. So I think I want that over there. So I don't want to work too fast either, because I want to kind of slow down a little bit, because as I mentioned in an earlier video of mine, when I was in Oaxaca and I was on an art retreat with brilliant artist Connie Solera. So if you ever get a chance to take any of her classes in person or online, she is just so amazing. And what I learned was that to work intuitively means that we slow down. Whereas prior to that, I had this false belief that, you know, working intuitively meant that you just work really fast. And I don't know where or how I picked up that belief, but it was the belief I had. And so I'm trying to slow down because I do want to work intuitively. So I know that's looking like a big mess over there, but I'm totally okay with that. And I'm gonna use my fingers over here. And so what I am going to do is bring in some of my chalk paint because I want to lighten things up a bit here. I want to add some different tones besides the white of the paper. So I'm just going to go like that. Now I feel like I have to bring in another kind of a blue, like maybe a turquoise. I'm not sure yet, but I think it's needing a little bit of a blue here that's different than the ultramarine. So a lot of times a painting will go through an ugly phase or an ugly stage, and I've just learned to embrace that because it means that, you know, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, because this stage is supposed to be messy and unpredictable and out there. It's not like it needs to be like really stilted, and sometimes it can just look really, really ugly where it's like blah, like nothing is flowing or, you know, looking cohesive, or it's just icky, and that's totally fine, you know. So if you go through an ugly phase in your art, it's totally fine. Learn to embrace it and accept it and move through it. So I'm gonna use some gold now and just kind of lay some marks down here. Okay, so I think it's time for my blue Stabilo. I want to make some marks here. So I'm just gonna make some circles. And circles are just a good way for me to give my page movement. And I love circles anyway, circles and dots. So it's just a good way to give movement in the page. And I've dipped the Stabilo in water, and you can use it wet or dry, and it just gives you different marks depending on what you are using it, like whether you use it wet or dry. And I love it either way. So now I think I'm gonna add another layer of collage. And at this point, I'm just adding interest to the page. I'm still not really focused on anything. I just want to make the page interesting. And this is a black Stabilo, so I'm just using it dry, but the paint is wet, so that's giving it a little bit of wetness there. Okay, so now I think I'm gonna add a little bit more collage here. And let's see where I want to add my collage. There. And maybe I want a different piece of collage, like maybe something like this. I'm gonna see if I can add this in somewhere here. Now sometimes I might pick out a piece of collage and I like the piece of collage, but it doesn't work on the page, and that's totally fine. Excuse me, that was almost a sneeze. So sometimes I might go, wow, I really love that piece of collage, but then I put it on the page and it just doesn't fit on any part of the page. And I'll try it in a few places like so. And if I don't like it, I'm not going to use it. So it's a beautiful piece of collage, but it just doesn't work over there. And let me see. It's not really, I'm not really feeling that either. Okay, so I think And I love this paper. I love this green, I love this gold, but I'm also really not feeling it over there. So I'm just gonna keep on working, and maybe I can add that on a subsequent layer. But for right now, it's not working. So I'm just going to take some of my chalk paint and add some light tones and integrate some of this collage onto the page right there. And how I do that is I just add some paint and use my finger and just kind of like smush it in like that. And that way it just kind of integrates it into the page a little bit, so it's not so prominent, it's more subdued. So I'm gonna add some turquoise to the mix here because I just feel like this page needs something like a cool color, but not the ultramarine. So another one of my favorite colors is a turquoise, and it's just this color right here. So what I'm gonna do is just smush it in there into the yellow, so it does have a bit of a, it did change the turquoisey color a little bit, but I'm really, so see how that just brings a little bit of pop to it and just gives it a little bit of contrast. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is just bring my cashew paint again. A little more of this turquoise here. And sometimes I just feel that this page is still very disjointed, and it's totally fine for it to be disjointed and ugly. I just am not really feeling the page at this point, but it's okay. I have to keep on reminding myself it's okay. It's okay for it to be ugly and disjointed, and you know, it's making its way to where it's going to eventually be, and I don't know where it's going to eventually be, and I need to be okay with that. And that's just what I keep on telling myself. And see, I'm really not liking that at all. So I'm just gonna wipe it off. Okay. So now I'm gonna add more collage, because what I want to do is I am going to start sketching in a figure. And I'm gonna use, this is a page from a dictionary that I thrifted many years ago, a big fat thick dictionary, and I love using the pages, especially for faces. So I think that's what I am going to do, is add a figure and start working the faces a little bit. Okay, so I'm trying to search for my figure over here, and I'm trying to kind of see where a face could go. So maybe like so. That, and I think I'm going to bring it over into this page. Okay, so I am now going to use my collage over here, and now, unfortunately, I do like some of these parts of the painting over here, but I'm gonna cover it up. So I'm gonna put more paper here. And instantly, what I'm gonna do is drop some of this burnt sienna in here. Just give her face some color and dimension. I'm going to pull it down into the neck. Okay, so let's see what I want to do next. I'm not sure what I want to do next, but I am not liking any of the background except for her face and her neck. So I want the whole background to disappear somehow. I don't know what I'm gonna cover it up with, but I'm not feeling it. So let me see what I want to do here. And maybe I'm gonna add some red to the bottom here. or some orange, I should say. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I think I'm gonna add that to the top over there. And see, earlier on, I didn't like this piece on any of the page, but now that I've kind of added more stuff to it, I think I'm really liking that over there. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that could go over there. So I think what I want to do is gray out the background, and that way the colors, the bright colors, are really gonna pop. So I'm just gonna mix this Waverly chalk paint in ink, and I'm gonna add some of the cashew to it. And unfortunately, all this stuff has to go. But that just happens sometimes, a lot of times actually. And I hate covering up this gorgeous bright orange over here, this orange and gold. I'll try to keep it, but I don't know if that's gonna work. Okay, now see how that really stands out a lot more, because the gray just makes the brights pop. And that's why we need our neutrals. They're just so important. Okay, so I am just gonna kind of go like this and try to gray all of that. And later on, I can always add some text to the chalk paint here. So I think I'll retain that orange piece over there for now.